What's up, everybody? We may be having some technical difficulties this morning because I do not see the feed on LinkedIn. Paul, do you see it?
Do I see it? Let me see if it's set up.
Boys,
What's up?
LinkedIn has made some changes that require reconnecting your destination. That's what I see.
For the freight carrier? No, it says.
No, well, for mine, when I just tried to do mine, I just
no, it does say we are on LinkedIn. Continue to LinkedIn, and okay, we're good. We're good to go. All right, boys, how we doing? Reed, you just landed in Chicago, no?
Yeah, I'm back on the Amalfi Coast, baby.
Amalfi Coast, the good old
I'm
sunshine.
not in the USA. I'm sorry, just Paulie, because Paulie, I texted you yesterday. I'm not in the USA. I'm in Poland. I'll reply to your text though. Sorry.
Where are you in Warsaw? Where are you, Paul?
I'm in Lublin. I moved in with my grandma.
Oh yeah.
I could show you my my view right here. One second here. I gotta turn off my edit. How do you edit mic settings? No. 1 second. I'll show you my views so you take a look. Be here closer with me. I got the map of the world behind me.
That map that you have behind you is probably the most epic.
Is that like wallpaper?
Yeah, it's wallpaper. Okay, Paulie wants to come on. Yeah, I'm gonna just send him the link. Let's see here.
We got a couple minutes. We can bring him on here.
Yeah, I'll bring him on.
Who's Paulie?
No idea.
Used to be an owner operator, dispatcher. He actually had a crazy trucking accident a couple months ago. Like, Paulie, I sent you a link. You could hop in on the link. I got the blocks right here.
Views. The good old communist views. Yeah.
So
we like those.
This is my block right here.
Let's go.
It's my freight caviar here.
Reed, how long are you in Chicago for?
Till Sunday. Cool. I'm sitting here at the airport.
What's up, Paulie?
What's going on, Paulie? How are you?
Not much, guys. I'm good. I'm alive.
Are you guys both named Paulie?
Yeah.
I'm the original Paulie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we used to work together when I was at Everest. It was that close connection.
I'm telling you guys, I've been traveling from a company to company around Chicagoland area for the last 2 weeks, just after my accidents, just trying to see what's out there. These guys are getting depressed. You know, everybody looking for somebody to come in and make magic. You know, but the freight is not there. Highway is killing all the carriers. You know, you can't consolidate. It's almost impossible in going to consolidation.
Yeah.
Well, we brought on the hot takes this morning, huh?
You can't make an honest living anymore, huh?
No, man. I mean, you gotta understand. Like, if you're putting 2-3 loads in a trailer, you need 3 links, 3 macro points, and they all have to be accurate. You know.
Every driver's just got to have 3 phones now, huh?
Yeah, let me pull over really quick. I don't want to drive and
cause an accident. Yeah, that'd be
somebody. I think, Paul, maybe you guys need to do a state of the consolidation market in Chicago.
Dude, I've been trying to do an interview.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I've been doing consolidation since 2003. I think I've worked for some of the first companies in Chicago. I mean, like Eastern European companies that started consolidation. You know, and it is next to impossible to do it anymore, man. I mean, you have to accept the $250 charges for no tracking. You know, you have to,
or you figure out how to get your customers to agree to it, which is obviously easier said than done, I imagine.
Right, of course, you know, and then and another thing is there's a lot of brokers that open up overnight, and they're happy trigger with the carrier 411. You know, you get 2 carrier 411s on you, it's over. The company is done. You know. It's wild. I've traveled. I'm not going to mention some names, but I went to some companies with 40, 60 trucks plus, and they're struggling. I went to a American company yesterday out of Schaumburg, about 35 years in business. They do a lot of contracts with UPS, FedEx, and Saya. and they just got a notification that they're not getting this contract renew. They're getting it. They're going to do in-house movement, so they're not going to be getting these $5 per mile runs anymore. And now they're looking to get into DAT load boards, but it's nowhere near $5 a mile,
I don't remember the last time anything was $5.
It's
$5
consolidated.
So
Well,
when I went into the meeting with them, I was kind of surprised, but they do get it. They get like dedicated runs, like with the high, like very high value cargo. Like they'll do a run to, let's say, like Chicago to LA, there and back, and they have a team. The truck never stops. They get $5 a mile. They really do. The guy showed it to me. But the thing is that it's over. The FedEx, SAIA, UPS told them no more.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it might have been for the most part. I think on the consolidation front, I would say it's a lot of these changes are taking place probably for reasons that
Cargo theft.
Yeah, a lot of these things ended up resulting in a lot of money being lost, and I think as much as potentially we've heard, obviously, I don't think the comment you made about some of these like verification systems, like you're not the only one that has made them before, right? But it's I usually happen to hear about it from the consolidation side, and pretty much only the consolidation side for the most part.
I mean, the tools are doing their job. If the shipper doesn't want their freight consolidated and they're able to prevent that, then I guess it's kind of working in a sense. Obviously, I understand from the perspective of these companies, if that's if that's what they're trying to do and that's what they rely on to get their business, keep their business afloat, then if that's preventing them, then I guess that sucks for them. But I think it's accomplishing from the perspective of the shipper and the broker. That makes sense.
It's getting more and more difficult to make any profits for these trucking companies. Like I understand, guy wants to ship a dedicated run, let's say 14 pallets from Chicago to New Jersey, and he's paying $1,800. Or, for you to run a truck with $1,800, it's not possible. It's you're paying tolls, driver, insurance, this, that. There's no profit in there, and you're coming back for $800. So these guys want all that, but they're not paying for the freight. So you have to consolidate. Nobody's gonna survive on these runs, no matter what. Average truck today. I was at M&K a couple of weeks ago, and they offered me like a brand new Volvo at $168,000. My man, even if you finance this, you're at like $3,500 a month for that truck, plus $17,000 insurance. It's just getting impossible to run these things anymore, man. Consolidation, but highway skilling consolidation.
Paulie, have you worked with Flock Freight?
Who?
Flock Freight before?
Fox?
Flock Freight.
Flock, like the guys from California.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, they are.
I'm not the biggest fan of them. They're cheap. All they do is a whole bunch of containers, in my opinion.
I actually, if they haul containers, that'd be new to me. But as far as
Moving
I'm
containers.
aware, yeah, they mostly have specialized or kind of made their name to fame with consolidation, like LTL shipments.
But the whole point of these guys make money because they're able to put 3 truckloads together, and even if the truckload's paying under market, like the shipper's expecting a truckload,
100%.
and then they put together a $5 a mile trailer out of a couple loads. Yeah, I mean.
So Bob was telling us about this a couple weeks ago. He's like, he works at Flock Freight sometimes, but he's like saying like whenever they have like a consolidation load, it's like they'll give him like a partial, and then he's going from North Carolina to California, and then all of a sudden they text him a message like, hey, would you want to pick up in Missouri these pallets and then deliver them in Arizona? And he's like, I don't want to drive all the way up north to Missouri and then drive.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. And that's what Flock is doing.
That's what they're really known for. So what I meant is they do a lot of container loads. They do a lot of like these moving storage pods, like they'll fit like 3 or 4 of them on a trailer, and they go all over United States. And number one is they don't pay well, and you're delivering it to people's houses or storage units, or they'll do what what Paul's saying. Like they'll call you in the middle of the trip and say, hey, you got to pick up this or you got to pick up that, you know?
Yeah. The routing just doesn't make sense. Whereas, like, I mean, I know all the Chicago consolidation carriers. I mean, I feel like there's some of them are still doing quite well if they have good relationships with brokers that like know that you're consolidating, right? Like, it's usually a problem if they don't know you're consolidating. That's.
I feel like a lot of times they know even when they aren't supposed to know.
Oh, of course. You know, listen,
And then they look the other way because they might be able to get the load a little bit cheaper. And if something happens, they're just like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, of course. So I had that relationship with the guy from C.H. Robinson. I'm not going to say his name. So we used to consolidate loads to Baltimore for like maybe 2 years, you know. And then one time the driver, you know, didn't go to the agent, didn't unload. You know, we would go to an agent, drop 15 pallets, deliver 15, then come back and deliver 15. You know what I mean? And one time we had a driver that just didn't do that. He went straight with 2 loads to the delivery, and then the C.H. Robinson guy washed his hands. He said, I can't believe you did this for that many years for me, this, that, you know, and CH calculated back how many loads we did and cut half of it.
Yeah.
Paid us only for half of them. And this is 2 years of loads, you know. It's a big company, so we had a lot of money back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Paulie,
but a lot of brokers today, yeah, you're right. You know, like there's a lot of relationships that we have that, you know, like there's a certain lane and I know it's going to be anywhere between 8 and 10 pallets. If he puts it on the board, he can sell it, you know, as a full truckload, but he'll give it to me as a truckload. But let's say not for $1,900 to New Jersey, but for $1,750, you know? Yeah. So that still exists, but it's getting less and less. You got to understand that with the brokers like CH or RXO, some of these guys hiring kids out of college for $45,000 and they're firing all these other guys that were making great money, you know, and you're talking to some people at CH, they're like, I'm not discriminating, but there's some kids at CH, like they're in their 20s, man. They're making like $40,000-$50,000 and they don't have no experience in transport, you know.
Yeah.
Paulie,
so the older guys
thank
are.
you, Paulie. We have another
Okay, you
guest
got it.
we got to bring on, but thank you so much for coming on, man. It's
We'll get
great
you back
to
on,
meet
Paulie.
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
get you
All
back
right, Paulie, keep in touch, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
All right.
So
next up,
that's
we
a
have
documentary right there.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Legal consolidation is a new category in Care for freight guards.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we
Chicago
have a
carriers in shambles. Sorry.
I know all of them.
we have a we have another guest coming on here, which the last time we spoke with him, he was at a different company, and this time he has joined a new one. So Bill Driegert, happy to have you on.
Billy boy.
Good to be on again.
What's up, Bill?
Long
Yeah,
time no
we-
see.
Yeah, I know. We last hung out, and it was like right before we could announce. I was like just waiting to tell you.
Yeah, Bill. For context, Bill texted me then on like 3 days after we did a RSF documentary interview with him in San Francisco on Thursday, and then literally I think on Monday, texted me in the morning, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like first thing that came to mind is like, I hope we can still use the footage, you know. But
I tried to be thoughtful with the footage to make it neutral.
it was. It definitely was for sure.
What?
So,
Take us through the history, I guess the timeline to the extent that you can, Bill. I mean, was this something you all talked about kind of from the beginning? I mean, obviously Flexport was able to scoop up Convoy for pennies compared to what it had been worth historically.
Like what could you disclose how much Flexport paid for Convoy?
I'm not supposed to share the prices, but you can find them out there. So
yeah, I mean, I've seen some numbers, and they're not $1 billion, you know, and
but they're also not pennies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but compared to
It
billions,
was definitely. I mean, it was a huge positive return for Flexport. Yeah, absolutely. Like
it had to have been part of the calculus from the beginning, right? I mean,
yeah, and it's part of if you just think about though, like why. I mean, the value difference there, right? When Flexport did the acquisition, we had to make a decision in one day, and we had it was very accelerated diligence, and we were buying technology, and we had no guarantees from would the people come over, because they'd basically, the company just wound down, right? So it was like the analogy Mike, our VP of Eng, used to use is like people on a bus and it crashed, and you're asking them to get back on the bus and keep going. Like, it's like,
you were able to recover some of the people on the bus, though. Many of the people.
Yeah, we got an exceptional team right out of the gate. It was like, and if you think about an org that's gone through that level of change, what you have at the end is the true believers and the most senior, critical people to keep that thing running. So we were able to bring over quite a solid team. It was about 40-ish out of the gate, and then we scaled. We brought in more, particularly on the ops and commercial that had been over at Convoy. But yeah, the value, though, first, that's a huge risk right out of the gate, because it's not a business, right? So we had to relaunch it. Didn't know if anybody was going to come back. We had started to have some of those conversations. And then it was a question of, okay, how do we actually take it back to market? Because we also shifted the whole business model very early. Now, they had started this product, Convoy for Brokers, and started to have a lot of success with it. And in fact, when we were going through this deal, Dan Lewis said, hey, this is an area where you definitely should look. And I was very familiar with the model because we had done something similar before back at Uber Freight. But then we pivoted to that pretty early, around April. And then we're having a lot of success. And it really started to accelerate in probably Q3, Q4 of last year. But this DAT came to us. It was an inbound. So we weren't really ready. We had definitely, from day one, when we acquired it, we said, hey, we should think about down the road, could we want to package this? Maybe we want to spin it off. Like, maybe it makes sense within Flexport long term, or maybe it goes through an acquisition. But we wanted to build optionality right out of the gate. We made sure to structure it in a way that it wasn't like we could package it and at the end if we needed to. But it's kind of that's just being thoughtful up front and having optionality, because we didn't know when we acquired it what the end state would be, because we had to go build
Flexport has a brokerage, correct?
It's always had a brokerage or different brokerage licenses, because when you do forwarding, when you do cartage, as an example, like there's usually a truckload leg or LTL leg, and with drayage, oftentimes you have transloading and you need to source different lanes there. And we had brokerage licenses, but then we also worked with brokers and large carriers. So being a forwarder in general, you have to be pretty flexible with your procurement strategy and have a lot of partnerships, because you've got to be all things to all people if you think about the spread of the service lines and geographies. So yes,
I'm just thinking through if, like, I mean, that was one of the criticisms of Convoy, right? Was that they were a broker, and then they were also doing this Convoy for Brokers thing. So there's like kind of a conflict there. And so I was just curious if that, I mean, obviously it's, Flexport is much less a brokerage compared to Convoy, like considerably less, despite, having authority. So I was just curious if that was part of like the optics, like, or if that was like even if you weren't as big of a broker, like if that was a headwind that you faced in trying to sell the product to brokers. Like, did that ever come up, or did nobody really care?
It wasn't a strategic focus for us. And Convoy, we weren't using the Convoy tech to go sell into shippers, which was key. When we started, we went that direction. We started to go down that path, and then we changed direction pretty early on. But yeah, that was always a challenge in how we positioned it. It was more so a challenge as Convoy, because clearly they were going big. And if you're going to like carrier conventions and you're seeing the brokers that you're also selling into, or the carrier conferences the shippers put on, then obviously that just creates some tension and a conflict in the model that's difficult to work around. We positioned ourselves pretty strongly at Flexport that it was only going to be tech, and that's really how we built it out after April-ish of 2023. We weren't going after the shippers. We didn't invest in the shipper side. We weren't selling to the shipper side. But Flexport did just it had base level needs and legacy needs as a company, and it clearly is a service provider. But also, if we hadn't made that decision with Convoy platform, I would have gone much bigger on the brokerage. So because clearly there is an alignment with building a brokerage at Flexport. So strategically, this certainly allows them now to be much more encumbered in how they go to the market and not have to constrain their sales into brokers. But
Sure.
we were taking a strategy that was very much like, because we had Flexport also, like I said, had brokerage partners. And so with those brokerage partners specifically, like we didn't want to cross sell into the same companies they were selling. We were trying to build deeper relationships with them as partners and as
Bill,
customers.
the first time I remember hearing about you, at least myself, was when you were at Uber Freight, just starting Uber Freight, and the path that you've kind of, went on so far. Did you ever see yourself ending up working at DAT?
I don't think I seriously had considered it until I got the inbound call, and then it kind of crystallized that this is a real possibility, and it makes so much sense. If I'd ever sat down for 5 minutes and thought about like where the ideal landing spot for this would be, it would probably be DAT. But DAT's like it's been fascinating, of course, going through this process, because it is a very different DAT than I think most people understand DAT to be. They've gone through this. They've got a CEO. He's been in seat now for over coming on 2 years, but as CEO for I think a little over a year now. But he's come in with the specific intent of really building a new DAT. They've gone through 3 acquisitions. We're the third. We're kind of the last piece of the puzzle there, and after which now it's about bringing it all together. But they acquired us, of course, Outgo, and Trucker Tools, all of whom have exceptional engineering talent and leadership. Carrie from Trucker Tools is a big part, very involved in the process. Marcus from Outgo also involved in the process, and it's already proven. Carrie. Yeah, Carrie's great. So, like I don't think
I heard she was the one. I heard or I read, at least from, I think it was the Armchair Attorney, which I know you did an interview with him as well too. I read that Carrie was actually the one that supposedly gave you the call.
Yeah, she was the first connection, and then it was actually her and Kid Adamo that jumped on a call and started this conversation back in.
How long ago was that? April.
That was early April. I was on PTO with family. We were out at the beach and got the inbound. But that was also the same week. That was the Monday that the tariffs hit. So lots of stuff was going on. That was a very busy week. Because at Flexport, of course, too, it's like, okay, tariffs hit. What's going on? And then you get this inbound. It's like, all right. I definitely think I was more receptive just because everything else going on as well. And then started seriously considering it. But it was, it was one of those.
What was your immediate reaction?
It didn't take long to make sense of it, but it did take, I think, probably a week or two to digest it, right? Because I think I also had, I worked with DAT and known DAT for my entire career as well. I think everybody's familiar with them, but I didn't know the current organization, and again, it's a very different organization. And so just digesting what that means, because we had started also just position ourselves as the as an alternative, right? Because fundamentally they're complementary products, but we saw a vision where maybe over time, like this could be a wedge or an opportunity. And I think DAT on the other side saw that, okay, well, it's very important that we build out these capabilities, because clearly this is where the market is going, and we want to drive automation. So the industrial logic made sense right out of the gate. But of course, it's a new company, new culture. You got to meet the people. Through the process, that's where I think everybody involved in that process just got more and more confidence through it, in terms of, yes, this is clearly hugely value accretive to both organizations. It just makes a lot of sense tactically and strategically. And for me, Mike, and everybody else that was involved in that process, was also just working with the team. You learn, hey, these are it's a great team. I can definitely work with these people. They clearly have a good vision. I'm on board. So that's
and DAT didn't really have. I mean, I guess I have not used their products for years now, but they weren't really they were about making the match, and execution took place offline, off the platform, meaning, booking was done elsewhere. And then all of the actual execution of the load occurred, whatever, on other platforms. So now DAT's got kind of this end-to-end solution between Trucker Tools, and obviously they've got the marketplace. So it's like, is that really the grand vision?
Yeah, and I don't think everybody realizes the depth of like capability that DAT does have. I mean, they definitely invested in product and built out, and it's the breadth of capabilities is very broad, but it doesn't have that full end-to-end execution, which is really where Convoy is differentiated. Yes. So, and the way to think about that is that, and we can't do like, not all loads can be automated for various reasons, including, service or particular requirements, or for whatever the reason. But there's a set of loads that if you put them on the platform and you automate them, then it's magic, and it can it's like having another carrier rep that's just magically taking freight off your board. But the use case typically for brokers is they're posting on Convoy as soon as they get freight, and it's operating in the background, and the ideal experience when it's fully integrated is it just disappears. As where with DAT, the typical operating mode is, yes, you call in, and now of course you've got AI, a lot of AI call bots that are taking those calls when so there's an automation element on that end, but it's typically you're posting that on average later in the process, or you just need to go as wide and broad as possible. And so
are we gonna see DAT live back up to its original name, like dial a truck? Like, are you going to be able to? Is there going to be a DAT voice agent soon that you can just pick up the phone and call, and a truck will show up?
Well, we definitely, top to bottom, AI is a huge focus. We've been using it quite a lot at Convoy for a while now. I think that the operating modes will evolve. I think that each broker, because if we have a lot of shared customers, and what's fun is getting into this process and hearing from the brokers that are, have good relationships on both sides, and just how they're kind of using the tools. But there's certainly some so I'm a big believer the brokerage market is fundamentally going to change. It's going to become much more automated, particularly on the procurement and long tail procurement. I think the role of the broker should evolve to be more service oriented, solutioning, relationship driven, and less transactional, and just doing the pure procurement. But in that, you already see brokers. There's definitely brokers at the leading edge of that. And my advice to any broker is learn, try these things out, figure out how it works within your business, because every broker is going to use this combination of tools slightly differently, including us and DAT, and how those pieces fit together. But pretty much, every broker that we work with is also a DAT user. And so to see how these things complement, I would say the most advanced ones are partnering with some of the leading AI companies for the voice part as well. Now, how all these pieces fit together over time, I think will be very interesting, because fundamentally, I believe the advantage of using a platform or using the Convoy platform is that it's a better surface area for most carriers. Most people want to just work through an app, but then you can layer AI on top of that for the manual touches. If you think about how you use your phone, you probably spend more time using apps than you do taking calls, and it's just a preferred experience. And it's just easier. Like if I can sit at if I'm a carrier and I'm sitting at lunch and just on my phone booking my next load, right? Versus having a call and hustle and get into the mix. And and if you think about the motion, I don't know if from an experience, it's actually better if I have to call an AI agent now, try to hustle the AI agent, right?
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question that I have too. Is that the better mode, or is it going to be digital, or is it going to be some other way?
I know personally, I would prefer to just go to an app, and
that's what So as kind of just as a precursor here to the documentary that will be going out on, we kind of go into this topic pretty in depth with Bill as well, which is it's super fascinating. But yeah,
I always use the analogy of we're trying to build the Amazon of freight, because people get that, and then it's easy to think about how that breaks if you were in that transaction, and at some part you had to pick up the phone and call the shipper and or call the if you at the start of every Amazon transaction you had to call to negotiate the price. Obviously, that's not as good of a transaction, right? If you had to then send the check.
The calling is kind of just maintaining the way things work now, but just swapping out who's taking the call or making the call. I mean, it's not really a fundamental shift. It's just putting a robot in the seat. What criticism DAT has gotten has just been the policing of the marketplace, right? Like fraudulent activity, whatever, right? And maybe some of it's deserved, maybe some isn't. I'm not sure, but to what extent? And I've heard, Convoy historically has done a good job policing activity on the platform. So I'm wondering what is that part of the scenario or part of the calculus from DAT that they might be able to leverage or adapt how you all do things to police who's on the platform, and if that might be something they can insert into their process.
Yeah, DAT has I'd say very good relationships with a lot of their key customers, and so this is definitely a point of feedback that they've heard in the market. And certainly as we got into this conversation, this was a big part of it. DAT is also making significant investments in the space, and there's a lot of, I think, exciting stuff that's coming out pretty soon on this front. But yes, part of the advantage of Convoy platform being app centric and app based is we do get additional forensic data, and the fact that we have to have like the location of the driver, we just have a level of depth of information that also allows us to be more precise. But then on top of that, Convoy made significant investments in ML models and capabilities that can identify risk and degrees of risk that can flag us, because we do still do what we have is a model that effectively gives you a red, yellow, green, and if it's yellow, it requires additional manual review. If it's red, you're marked out, and green, good to go. But it's significantly more precise than a lot of the tools that are used out there that are, I would say, more blunt instruments versus scalpels. And our approach is very much a scalpel, because we also want to be very carrier friendly in the sense that if you just got your CDL, you've been working for Schneider for 15 years, and now you went out on your own and got your own, got your own authority. I want to be a source of loads. I want you to be able to engage in the platform and find freight, as where on a lot of platforms you would not be able to, you don't have any safety inspections or whatever the blunt rule being applied would limit your access. We want the best carriers, and we want to be accessible, and we want people to get a fair shake. But we also want to be super precise in weeding out those bad actors, because the other thing about fraud, it's the same people. It's the same actors, over and over and over again. And Ryan shared an anecdote on this post deal about the fraud tech. How we had one example where we had a bad actor that we had already flagged, and they were in the app looking for freight while at the courthouse for a previous conviction for fraud. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like
I thought it was super fascinating when we were talking previously, how you were mentioning the usage of an app just by itself is indicative in some way, shape, or form,
yes.
of what maybe a person's intent might be. Which I think that's super fascinating, because I think when fraud is anti-fraud measures are approached, for the most part, they're generally speaking either community sourced reporting or I don't know, maybe, I mean, mostly from that, there's other obviously platforms that aggregate those reports, but that's, as far as I'm aware, that's pretty much the main way that companies have kind of tried to combat the anti-fraud or the fraud problem. Unless there's other ways. I don't know if I'm missing one other than just crowdsourcing kind of reports.
There are others. Like I try to be careful about giving too much, because we definitely see it's an arms race. And so there's a lot of clever like spoofing and other capabilities that people apply. And there are definitely like dumb actors and smart actors, and some very sophisticated in terms of how they try to go about it. So, but yes, there's it's not hard to think through basic behavioral patterns, but certainly there's more sophisticated behavioral patterns that I think just take a level of sophistication on the other side to be able to suss out. And also just the way that location data transmits and the way that it ties the device. And there's a lot of like forensics that just require a bit more sophistication to be able to apply versus your basic. And if you think about the most basic way that a broker manage fraud, it's like, I'm not going to use any 1-year authorities. I'm not going to use any carriers with less than 1 truck or less than 5 trucks. And there's some brokers use very like all or nothing rules like that to try to weed out fraud, just because I'm sure they did some basic analysis and identified, hey, majority of my fraud is coming from small carriers or new authorities. So I'm going to weed it out. But that doesn't, most bad actors, sophisticated, have already kind of figured that game out, and may buy, because you also see, MC numbers turn bad because they buy an MC number or somehow infiltrate a existing organization, right? So these things happen as well, but you can still, if you have more sophisticated measures, you can suss out some of that. You can suss that out as well, because again, it's often individuals, it's often locations, patterns, like particular shippers, of course, that get targeted, and you combine all that, and you can just get a better, more precise picture. But it's an ongoing evolution for sure.
I feel like that this is a problem. This is a very difficult and increasingly difficult problem, even outside of freight or just in general, particularly as, let's say, AI becomes more sophisticated, and things like computer use, which is just AI's ability to control a computer or anything like this, right? X, for example, X.com has a pretty bad problem that they acknowledge publicly of bots on the platform. And when you look at a lot of these profiles, like it's, even for me, it's becoming increasingly difficult to like recognize which one is real and which one is not, right? Sometimes they'll even have a blue check mark, which sure, that adds like a kind of a economic barrier to entry potentially, right? But I don't know, that problem is quite difficult. How do you see it playing out? Like, especially once, AI with the capabilities that we're starting to see, GPT-5 just came out yesterday. It's from what I've used, it's pretty good. How are you seeing kind of combating this like 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah, I think it's an arms race. We get better, they get better.
Right.
I think fundamentally, the more data you have, the more breadth of access you have, and again, like the more ground level truth you can triangulate against, the better result you're going to get. So, like the fundamentals will still apply in terms of identity management and just identifying bad actors, but the methods will obviously have to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
There's been obviously a lot of activity in the load board marketplace, whatever word you want to use, sphere. You've got new parties starting load boards, or I think I always calling theirs an exchange, but it's all fundamentally just matching supply and demand, and it's just interesting that to see them and other folks get into that space. Like, what's your take on all that?
I think it's again, it's DAT has been in this privileged position, and I think it's on us to continue to drive value and to give and to drive trust with the market in general. That,
and by privileged position, you just mean they are the market leader.
They're the market leader.
They own the liquidity in the marketplace, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's significant network effects that apply when you're trying to build a marketplace. So it's difficult to get the chicken and the egg and the flywheel going. And for DAT, it's more about how we can continue to deliver value and outsize value, and make sure that brokers are confident that we're leading the way and bringing them into the future, and that they've got a partner that they can trust as we continue to invest in capabilities, which is really what all these recent acquisitions are about. I think the broader market, it's marketplaces it's a very difficult thing, right? DAT has been around for 47 years building this out. What
would you rather do? Would you rather have a vetting tool and then try to start a marketplace, or have a marketplace that's at scale and is a market leader and try to slap on vetting tools? I mean, I feel like the answer is obvious, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to get too into talking about our competition. I wish them well.
This is Freight Gong Friday. We talk about competition while the competitors are on. So,
but Yeah, I mean, partly why I am so excited about what we have together now is it is like now, because Convoy platform, of course, I'm a huge believer in as the future capability and where the market will go, but I think the market takes time to get there. This is a huge accelerator in terms of that, bringing that capability to market. DAT has the distribution, and DAT has like amazing tech, amazing leadership. So I clearly like this is, it's going to be very hard, I think, for someone to step in and replicate all those capabilities. And now, we have the scale and we have very unique tech, because I do think the execution layer and building out, not a lot of other companies are coming in trying to replicate that right now because there's so much focus on AI. And so that is a wedge and an advantage in terms of how we think about the future and building end-to-end execution. And this was built over with $1 billion of investment and dogfooding it along the way. So it's not just the capabilities, because oftentimes people are like, oh, a load board just does this, a digital matching just does this, but it's all execution refinement, and does it do it well, and does it do it in a way that's repeatable, and does it do it in a way that customers love it, and like all the other things that just take cycles and reps to build out and learn. And then you have a core org that has the tribal knowledge just to be able to take that and scale that. So all those things are very hard to replicate. And I think with the marketplace coming in, it's I don't know if I think the core challenge is most of these strategies just don't have enough differentiation in the core product that will drive them that much farther, or really give them a wedge to get ahead and get velocity. I think you have to come at it from a different angle, where it's a fundamentally different product or different experience, where you're kind of leading the way with the future. And particularly in this space, again, it just gets to the like, how much time do you have? How fast can you pace? Like, what's your execution relative to everybody else? And are you truly offering a differentiated advantage? I think fundamentally, most people have just thought of this as like, I want options, or I want other options. And it's on us too, to make sure that we keep these we could keep driving enough value that they don't feel that need to like look at other options or consider that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting, I'd say, 5 years. I am most excited about the idea, like about driving automation through the technology that we've built to brokers, and seeing how that evolves, how they do business. I'm also very excited to see how all of the AI companies engage in that space, and then how that shakes out, who gets the lead, what new business models come out of that. I am not on my radar of top 3, like what's going to change the market is not like another marketplace that does the same thing just on a smaller scale. Like, I feel like we've probably already, that market already is saturated. I mean, we've got players, the marketplace space has a fair amount of participants that have been chewing away at this for some time. And I don't know that a new player, I haven't seen yet what they would bring that's strongly differentiated, particularly if not incorporating a high degree of automation or future forward thinking in terms of how brokers might evolve to the next phase, which I think is coming from other segments or coming in pockets via other providers. And certainly what we're focused on is like, how do we actually drive that next phase, that next generation, the future of how marketplaces should operate, how these parties should engage, and how much automation and how streamlined you can make that experience. Because it's not, I probably overuse the term automation, because it's really about just making it easy. I mean, the reason that a carrier would love to go to, or loves going to Convoy platform, is it's just easy. And a reason a carrier wouldn't go to another market is because maybe they don't feel loved, right? Or maybe it's just not an easy experience, or maybe it's the same experience as any other. And if you're not, you've got to aggressively solve for both sides of the market. Like, we have to win the carrier's love and trust, and we have to make sure we've got the preferred place for carriers to go. Because otherwise, like, if they're always going to us first, then every other marketplace will get them second or third, right? And so certainly we want them to come to us first and love what we're building. And I don't know, I have a lot of opinions on this, but also, like, I'm very focused just on what we have to build. But I think the key is, like, in what we build, we want brokers to love us, and we want to have an experience where they know they're getting the most value on a go-forward basis. And I want carriers to love us and know that it's the best place, easiest place. They're getting the most value when they engage.
Bill, do you
So-
see Convoy platforms focus sticking to owner operators, or do you think, because at least as far as I remember when we talked last, that was that seemed to be the focus while Convoy was at a part of Flexport. Is that going to be the continued focus? Is that, or is there going to be an expanded focus to maybe smaller to mid-size carriers as well?
It's really only limited by how far we can drive the similar experience where it's automated end to end. Now it's app centric and very app centric in the way that execution works, because we also need location data. There's other ways to get there, and certainly we will invest in building out. We want to increase the reach of the product to more carriers so they can participate in it over time. But the real limiting factor historically, and why it's been so owner operator centric, is just that app engagement, that you download the app. Now we support dispatchers. Dispatchers can use the platform, but ultimately the driver, the execution, we have to have that driver level engagement with the app. And that's just historically kept it to smaller carriers. But there's no reason larger carriers can't engage. And there have been larger carriers that have engaged in the platform. And as we go forward, yes, we'll definitely, it's for us, as when we were building it independently, we had to be very narrow in our focus. As part of DAT, it gives us that canvas to go broader over time. But it is like the most important thing, though, is maintaining that simplicity of experience on the carrier side, and then the access through the application, just to simplify the workflows. Because for the broker, then they get very high resolution tracking because devices these days with GPS are just so high quality, and carriers have really, carriers have all been learned and gotten comfortable with just using the app as a core interface. So that end-to-end experience is really what's important. So we don't want to break that, and we want to maintain that. But otherwise, it's not a carrier size limiter. It's like a carrier engagement limiter, and our ability to extend that engagement service area, through new products.
So, Bill, I guess I haven't asked any questions. I wanted to finish off real quick on a funner note. Kind of wanted to hear from you to see, first of all, are you now moving from SF? Are you going to be relocating?
I'm staying in SF for now. Pretty hunkered down here. Yeah. Most of the DAT has a strong presence in Beaverton, Seattle, and Denver. So I'll be splitting my time, getting to the office quite a bit. But I'm a high travel person anyway, in terms of getting on the road a lot.
Got it. Yeah. Are you all remote right now for the Convoy team?
It's so we do have an office with Outgo. They have an office in Seattle. The team's been going in, which I think has been great. It's in a great location too. It's right in South Lake Union. We are looking at a new office space to bring everybody together in Seattle, which the new office looks fantastic. So the team's pretty excited about that as well. But yeah, Seattle, there's definitely a center of gravity in Seattle now as well because of the acquisition. So, this is not too dissimilar than for me coming from Flexport, where we had I'd say split center of gravity, because we had San Francisco as the headquarters, but then we had offices in Chicago and Seattle and Dallas and all over. So
nothing beats in person, I will say.
Yeah,
we recently swithed, and it gets so much more done.
I'm wondering, Will, what if you have any purchases that you want to make now, from the acquisition? Do you have anything in mind that you're I'm going to buy this, that you share with us?
Oh man, nothing burning a hole in my brain. I'm a car guy, so I'm always rotating cars.
I think that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
What kind of car? What's a dream car?
I would say the dream car for me would be, I'm pretty basic. So a Porsche RS Spider is probably the one that,
nice.
That'd be
the
dream.
So we'll see you, Bill.
California, you got a lot of we've got so many tracks and twisty roads around here. I do like to go to the track. I think I've shared this before, but my career started as building race cars.
I remember talking about that.
A startup, right? Your first startup, technically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've always loved. I pretty much every weekend I'm doing something mechanical on a car, doing something.
So if you could rebuild any car of your choice from
Any
scratch, yeah, which one would it be?
I love old 70s Italian cars. So it would be something like a 70s Italian wedge, like an early Countach without the flares, or I've always loved De Tomaso Mangustas, which I don't know if you're familiar with that. But
I have to look all these up. I'm not that much of a car guy, but
The Countach is a Lamborghini, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Lamborghini. It's
Yeah.
the early
Yeah.
Gandini designed Lamborghini wedge. They had the Miura, and then they had the Countach was the second supercar, but it was, super wedgy, spaceship looking. If you look at the very early ones, they're just very clean.
Where do G wagons fit into all this? Do you have a G wagon or no?
No, not a big, not as much of a G wagon fan. I like
that doesn't fit. That does. I couldn't see Bill.
Know your customers, bro. Know your customer.
Yeah, like I have an old like 80s Dodge truck that I work on, and that's my like utility vehicle.
All right, last thing here. I don't know who this person was, but there was a comment here from just a link. It says LinkedIn user that Bill Driegert looks like Benedict Cumberbatch, and I did want to share this, that now that this was said, I can't really unsee this. I don't know what you guys think, but Bill, you guys.
I have to ask my wife, but I don't.
No.
I pulled it up.
Really.
I had no idea who that person was, but now that I see the photo, I'm like, wow, okay.
It's Doctor Strange. He's a Doctor Strange.
Yeah, great.
There are worse people to be identified with, Bill. So
yeah, I'll take it. Yeah,
great. I mean, I don't know. I like his acting, but anyway, hopefully that wasn't offensive, Bill. But nonetheless,
no,
cool.
He's never coming back.
Yeah, that's definitely
not easily
would be my fault for sure. So, all right, Bill. Thank you so much for coming on again. And for those of you that would like to hear more about Bill himself, what he's working on, there will be a documentary full interview with Bill. It's almost 2 hours, I would say. I think we were almost talking for 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. This is a long interview. So we went in really in depth on a lot of stuff. It's going to be coming out here soon, maybe in the coming weeks, maybe sooner. So, but yeah, Bill, anything you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, Bill, you need to write more, bro. When you wrote your little LinkedIn post about what y'all are doing,
your little LinkedIn post.
Yeah,
good writer.
That was no. I think you have a lot of interesting things to say, and you can communicate them well. So I want to read more.
I appreciate that.
There's a dearth of good writing in the freight world,
Yeah, there's a lot of very dry writing. So I'll take that in mind for sure.
I'm here to encourage you.
I appreciate that. This is going to be the moment. You're going to take this feedback, and I'm going to act on it.
Awesome.
Maybe you could write a guest contribution for Freight Caviar.
Let's go. That'd be cool.
There you go. You're welcome, guys.
Not a bad
All right,
idea.
thanks so much, Bill.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.